Hello and welcome to the only podcast where they call me Spider-Man because I'm Matt.
I'm Luke.
And I'm back.
Yeah, I'm not going to use that, right? Or is it funny if we just blank it all? Because that was just going to be one that I was like,
If you have an alt, I would rather go with a different one. Hello and welcome to Force for Thought.
Presents.
Today we are talking. It's been a while. Yes, we're not talking Star Wars today. It's always awkward starting a More for Thought because listener clicked on this video and knows what they're listening to, but we haven't really talked about it. We're not talking about Star Wars today. We're talking about Spider-Man in our More for Thought segment, which we do sometimes, typically whenever we feel like, because this is our podcast and we can actually do whatever we want all the time. So we all saw Spider-Man and we all really like Spider-Man, and we're here to talk about Spider-Man this week. Brand new day, of course.
the rules are loose.
The new one. We're not going to be going through it scene by scene like we did with The Mandalorian show and The Mandalorian and Grogu, because this movie...
That's all we have as a reference also, because we haven't done anything else in so long
we should
at
review
this
another
point.
Star Wars movie so soon.
We should do almost anything besides Mandalorian.
I have a lot of ideas. We're almost done with Mandalorian. Sick tight, but...
Can we just wrap this shit up? Just like Mandalorian season,
The last two episodes are
season
so
3
good.
All the
episode.
good ones of the season.
Maybe, which is why
Like, not the only good
maybe that's why it should be a
That's
combo.
No, we're gonna
so
like
sorry.
those last
We
two
should-
episodes. All right, cut all that. Back to Spider-Man.
The
Um,
connection
Matt.
is that today they actually just announced that they were going to be doing, for the first time in almost 50 years, a Star Wars and Marvel crossover comic series, and Kevin Smith is going to be leading it. So, Star Wars.
You
meets
into
Marvel
that?
Takes us to Spider-Man.
Are you in?
I like all those things not together. Though.
Not really. No, I'm very disinterested in it. It goes. I'm not trying to like yuck anyone's yum. Like, it's a fun idea, and if you like it, go for it. It's the same thing, same theory that I have on all the What If series in Marvel, where it's like, yeah, what if? Like, I have an imagination too. Like, I can picture it, but it's not canon. So, like, what's the point?
Yes, Max is starting a small community of what they've self-identified as lore whores, where they don't care about having fun. They're just down to business, want to care about the lore. Get out of here, Kevin Smith, with your fun antics.
I don't like how you phrased it. But
With your weed-soaked antics.
Because Star Wars, they've started putting out Star Wars books that are just like literally history books within the Star Wars universe, and I'm just like, finally, that's what I've been wanting. No story.
That truly
just
is what
facts.
you wanted. No story. The fun stuff. You were a great student. You had to have.
Always good to stress that we are not trying to yuck anyone's yum. So, Max, you read your history. So, anyway, brand new day. Spider-Man, brand new day. Spider-Man 4. Spider-Man 9. There's lots of ways to look at it. The one that's in theaters in 2026. Tom Holland's fourth installment. It's got the Hulk, and we're going full spoilers. I'm not even going to bother. It's got Jean Grey, and it was really good. Max, what'd you think?
I absolutely loved it. So, you know, when I started getting into comic books, I really wanted to like be contrarian and get into like all these obscure comic book characters. Like, I really wanted to like Sentry for a little bit for no reason other than I thought he was unique and different and no one else liked him. And I have friends, like I have one friend who's a huge Beta Ray Bill fan, and he also really likes the Silver Surfer. And part of me is envious of that. But then when I read the comics, I'm just like, yeah, but the classics are classic for a reason. The ones that I like the best are Spider-Man, X-Men, Daredevil. Those are my top 3. And Daredevil wasn't in it, but Punisher has a lot of crossover with Spider-Man and Daredevil, and Jean Grey is from the X-Men. So really, this was like as close as I could possibly get to like all of my favorite Marvel, properties coming together, even though Jean Grey isn't my favorite X-Man, but still, the crossover was very exciting because I like that they're starting to go into the mutant storyline and bringing in the X-Men and all that stuff into the actual story as opposed to just leaving them in the obscure end trailer credit scenes that don't eventually tie into anything. I like the movie a lot. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad that it seems to me like the overwhelming review has been very positive. I think it was better than Far From Home, but not as good as No Way Home. So I put it as, I rank it number 2 of the 4.
And Homecoming is your least favorite.
Yeah.
Okay. Matt, what'd you think?
Homecoming is? Interesting. Sorry, that was the worst possible time.
All right, I'll give my 2 cents.
Please do.
Spider-Man: Brand New Day, fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I came out of the theater and someone, I forget who it was, they were like, "Oh, did you like it?" And I was like, "Spider-Man swings through New York and webs up bad guys." Of course, I loved it. It also happens to have a compelling story and great character moments, and so I did really like it. My biggest takeaway from this movie is how low everyone else is on the Homecoming trilogy, because this is, by a pretty healthy margin, my least favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. But I seem to like it as much as everyone else.
By a healthy
And
margin?
I'm learning that no one else likes Homecoming or No Way Home hardly at all. Or no, Homecoming and Far From Home, the first and second ones, hardly at all. And not enough people love No Way Home, the third one, nearly as much as they should. So I did really like this movie, and I'm going to make a discerned effort not to be negative on it because I really liked it, but I mean, it's not even close to my favorite Tom Holland movie, and it's not even that close to my third favorite Tom Holland movie, but still really, really liked it.
So what
Matt?
is the order you put them in?
Uh,
Tom Holland 4.
No Way Home, and then Far From Home, and then Homecoming, and then Brand New Day.
Okay.
And each of those by like a good margin. Like I'm not hemming and hawing over them. Like when we talk Star Wars, I'm like, oh, maybe this one, maybe that one, depending on the day. I thought the Homecoming trilogy got consistently way better as it went on, and it started great. And I thought this movie was definitely my least favorite.
Oh, that's crazy to me.
Interesting.
Matt, what'd you think?
Guys, I have so many thoughts about this movie because I went in being like, these trailers I thought looked really, really bad. I had no interest in it. Yeah, I was like, it's like, why? What is this? It's the trilogy is done. Is this the start of a new trilogy? What is
Did
it?
it make sense
The
after
trailers don't
seeing
tell
it
you
'cause were like,
anything.
oh, it turns out the entire trailer was just the first 5-minute opening montage of the entire movie.
Kind of. It just didn't have. To me, it just didn't have any hype, and I think that I just didn't have. I was not excited about it whatsoever, and then I went to go see it, and it is by far my favorite Tom Holland Spider-Man movie. I would say maybe my favorite Spider-Man movie. I've seen it once, and I'm usually not the person who sees something once and is like, "This is the best version of this." I have to see it multiple times, sit with it, yada yada. But I think, to be fair, it has a big connection with Max, like you said, your favorite superheroes. Mine is very obviously, Batman is number 1, and then X-Men is number 2. A lot to do with the animated series from the 90s. So anything really connected to the X-Men, I'm very excited
you guys
for.
watching X-Men 97?
And the fact that this
It's so
movie,
fucking good.
I'm not.
no, I
It
still
is
haven't
so
started
good.
because I'm making my way. I'm still going back through the OG
Anyway,
show
keep going,
actually, so I can catch up. So the fact that it's like a bridge between this is dealing with this is dealing with things that have happened in the past films for this version of Peter Parker, plus a bridge to what he can become, plus a bridge to the X-Men, blew my mind. I went going with such low expectations, and to be able to be the most, in my mind, emotional Spider-Man movie that we've had without actually having a death in it is stellar. Like I also like No Way Home. It's obviously such a great nostalgia play. It's like the biggest of the big. But what I really love about Spider-Man in general, and this is not like a new take, is that he is your local neighborhood superhero, right? He is, and this is the first time I think we really get that in a Spider-Man movie, especially with the Tom Holland Spider-Man version. I like that it's not even like a global. The New York City aspect nobody really gets affected on the big scale until the ending when Jean is captured. And so it's not like, there's a big villain on the loose. Nobody else really knows about this besides like Spider-Man and the people that are getting affected by Jean Grey. And so I like the fact that it's like, there's these robberies and the group understands that there's somebody out there, but I like the idea that like really New York City is kind of blind to it. So it's even on a smaller scale. And you think Scorpion is back at it, and you're like, this is just like normal, neighborhood superhero versus vigilante stuff. And I think, it blew my mind. I think Sadie Sink is a great Jean Grey. I kind of hope they kind of don't go down the path of Dark Phoenix, since we kind of already got that. Now she kind of learn and can become the responsible version of Jean Grey. I personally don't like the Dark Phoenix storyline. I think they do it every single time, and it's redundant at this point. We understand. And so I think they could do something new and interesting with it. I had an absolute blast. Before we started recording, we were talking about the Odyssey and the theatrical experience, and I want to get into that at some point. But Luke, I will let you lead this episode. So it's great. I thought the humor was great. I went to go see it with my mom. I dressed very nerdy that day, which is not necessarily out of character for me, but I just feel like I don't look good in shorts. I look like a nerd in shorts. And I was leaving the house, and I was telling my wife Lynn, I was like, I look like such a nerd, and she's like, you're going to see Spider-Man with your mom? You don't need to worry about that. Anyway, we're gonna have 2 kids, and I think we might be done after that.
I want to second the humor real quick because I feel like they really could have gone overboard with the Marvel humor kind of stereotype, especially with Spider-Man, who's like a pretty, notorious wisecracking character. And I feel like they didn't go too heavy on it. And therefore, I feel like the humor that they did have in it was hysterical.
Yeah.
And like it was just like it was stupid things too. Like I actually belly laughed when they went to the Punisher's secret hideout or whatever, and then he was like, "You like chili?" And then they walked away, and he just turns
Yes.
to
Don't
MJ and goes, "I would not eat that chili."
And you love chili, so that's a perfect
That's
joke for
firing on
you.
all cylinders.
You love chili.
I like
you
that
love
the Punisher-
You love boats. What a good scene.
They use
back
his
for more.
the Punisher is using the Spidey tracker as well, which is so funny.
Yeah.
Is that, like I love that. It's also it's got the most heart and it's got the most emotional beats, and they also use MJ and Ned the perfect amount. They don't overuse them, which I feel like they do in some of the other films. And so if I was to rank them real quick, I would go Brand New Day, No Way Home, just because it's so nostalgic and so big. I don't think it's a good movie, but I think it's a lot of rooted in nostalgia, right? It's just like, oh yeah, Toby and we get Willem Dafoe back and yada yada. Then I'd go Homecoming, which I think is actually underrated. I'm surprised that people have been turning on it. Like when that movie came out, it was like, this is the best Spider-Man movie, right? And I still am pretty much in that camp. And then they get better, and then Far From Home, but because I think that in that scene they amp up the humor, and Ned and MJ are too much, and there's too much of the Mysterio stuff. And by Mysterio, I mean Jake Gyllenhaal, because Mysterio's rad. But anyway,
All right, we're not going to go
I
scene
think this
through
movie's great.
scene, but I do think it's appropriate to go first act, second act, third act, because I've never taken film classes or anything. Doing this podcast for the last 4 years.
you watch
3 years.
movies, you definitely.
I watch movies, and lately I've been getting a lot more critical about them. So I start to notice like the distinctions between first, second, and third acts. This movie should be day one. This is what the difference between first, second, and third acts and how to make them work still, because they are very clearly defined. First, second, and third act, for better and worse. I think it still flows very well, but I think the first act is perfect. I was 100% on board with this movie all the way until the man spider stuff started coming up, when he starts turning more spider. The intro where he is watching MJ and Ned go through college and all of that was the perfect way to catch the audience up with what happened in the last movie, but still progressing it so it's not like the people that are very familiar already just have to sit through it while you catch up all the normies that don't watch it. That was excellent. Everything, bringing the flowers to May, that was great. Set it up for later. Makes sense for where he is in his story. The cop, DeWolf, I liked her. She was like barely in it, but she was just enough in it, because you needed someone to speak to Spider-Man, but not someone that you really care about because he's alone. So I thought they nailed that. And then all the way up through the party scene at MJ and Ned's house. That scene, top 3 scenes in the movie. It's, well, I'll get into that later. When Peter sees MJ with her boyfriend, Ezra, Star Wars connection, nice. Surprised he was
what the
only
hell?
in one
Only
scene.
one scene? So was I. I was like, oh my god, he's gonna be the villain, and I was like, wait, where the fuck did he go?
My Star Wars bias is so thick that I'm like, oh my god, they brought in Iman Asfani for this? This is, how did they hide this casting?
Me too. Literally, Luke, I had the same exact thought to be like, here we go, and then just just in one scene, and I was like, oh my god,
Very important scene.
So funny.
Very good scene. And I loved Act 1. Then we get into Act 2, and it starts feeling pretty different. I don't even know if... Oh, geez. I don't want to see it a third time, because movies are expensive, man. But now I'm relying too heavily on my hosting a podcast episode on knowing every beat of the story verbatim. So I don't.
Yeah, good for you for wanting to go act by act. This is all on you, my friend. If you want to just throw to the wolves, let us know and we'll jump in. But
No, because I
luck.
want to go in order. The second act is when all the man spider stuff comes up. He sees Yelena in the bathhouse. I thought that was a funny scene. And let's talk
Yeah.
about that, because people are always talking about how, I don't know. I've always gotten the vibe that the MCU should cross over more than it does. And sometimes it works really well. Like,
The small potatoes line is a perfect line to sum it up, though. To be like, oh, I can't deal with this because this is small potatoes.
yes.
Which is
He
another-
calls her up later, and he's
an
like, "Yeah, I need help
amazing-
sizing up these potatoes." And then he's going over, and she's like, "Sounds like kind of small
Yeah.
potatoes stuff."
Yes, which is a perfect way to say that, to be like, this is below my pay grade, but also an amazing way to integrate these people but be like, oh, the story truly is like, this is just local crime basically happening. Like like Scorpion is robbing a bank, not knowing this bigger picture that is like veiled under a normal disguise, which is why the movie is so good.
I don't know where
I-
you're going
Anyway,
with this, Luke, but I think the crossovers in this were absolutely perfectly done. That was actually like one of my highlights, was that none of them felt gratuitous. They all felt purposeful, and they all meaningfully contributed to the plot.
I agree. I tried so hard to find issue with Hulk being in this movie because everyone, well, the whatever, Marvel subreddit that I look at sometimes when a new Marvel movie is coming out, everyone knew that Sadie Sink was going to be Jean Grey and there was going to be mind control. You saw some mind control shenanigans in the trailer. So it was hard for me not to be cynical and think that Marvel just has donkeys in their brain and is like, you said mind control? Where's the Hulk? Let's get him in here. He's going to be angry, because we've seen that before. It was 11 years ago, and the statute of limitations, I think, has passed that we're ready to see it again. And he had meaningful contributions to the mutant element of the story and the legacy of that going forward. I agree. I thought that Hulk was used perfectly, and I was really expecting to not like Hulk in this movie.
Now, what do you think is the mutant element? Because you started talking about the man spider, and that's kind of like the one kind of criticism that I have, is that I feel like they never like fully resolved that in a satisfying way. He just kind of gave into it, and he's like, all right, well, this is just going to be how it is now. And seemingly it's going to be fine. Like, it's not going to throw off the balance of mutant to human ratio that he was kind of worried about. Because to me, there was like low-hanging fruit in there where I was like, this movie is so cool because they're dealing with mutants and mutations. And I felt like that was like low-hanging fruit for them to grab at that never really came to fruition. Like, Jean Grey being a mutant was never really like a plot line, nor was Peter Parker mutating / becoming more of a mutant. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was like a connection
do.
there that they never crossed.
But I like that they didn't cross it, because they get right. I think this is the most appropriate way to introduce the X-Men, is start talking about mutations without ever defining someone as a mutant. I really like that.
Okay.
Super smart. Also, I'm having a coughing fit.
You okay, man?
Yeah, I haven't recovered from my eye.
Right.
Anyway,
Yelena, I thought, was the third most appropriate use of another Marvel character. I like that she was in it, but she felt the most just like placed in here because why not? I did not think she had
New
a very
Avengers.
relevant role. I also don't think she is that established in her. I haven't seen Black Widow, but I've seen Thunderbolts, and I really like Thunderbolts, and they don't really establish themselves as a big potatoes worthy Avengers kind of team. I thought she was a little bit pompous there, talking about how big her potatoes are and not Spider-Man's, but it's like, what the fuck do you do, Yelena? Because you'd really just solved your own problem once, and then that's it. So I didn't like that part as much, but I really like Yelena's character, and that scene was really funny. For a movie I thought was not that funny overall. I'm not saying it needs to be funny. I don't disagree that the funny parts are very funny, but you know, they made a very calculated effort to make this entire movie a more mature tone than the Homecoming trilogy or any other Spider-Man movie beside that. And that comes at the cost of less humor, which is fine, but it needs to come at the benefit of a more polished script, and I don't think it had that. Because when we get into the third act is when I really start falling off on this movie. Not really. I still really liked it, mostly because of the first and second act, though. Because
When
in
you
the
say
third
script,
act,
do you
it
mean
relies
dialogue or do you mean storyline?
storyline,
Okay.
the plot. I feel like the plot relied heavily on the audience's excitement that Jean Grey is in it and that the X-Men are coming. I did not like Jean Grey at all in this movie. Like, I think Sadie Sink did fine, but the character sucks.
Well, yeah, she
I
was a
think she
villain in
was-
this movie.
And that's the point though, is that this is before they get, they go to Professor Xavier. They're rascals, they're punks, they that's the whole point of Professor X though, right? To just be able to control their
Right. It's not
control
just
their
that
powers.
I dislike her like I dislike, Count Dooku for being the bad guy. I dislike her because I think she's written poorly in the sense that, Max, you brought it up already when Peter has that moment where she asks, "Are you Spider-Man or are you Peter Parker?" And he says, "I'm both," and then he goes nuts. Super cool scene, good for Peter, but I feel like, and this is how I feel about the whole movie, I feel like the creators wrote the action set pieces before the plot. And so I think they had a really good idea that, like, oh, Jean Grey can hop into people's minds so we can have a really cool action set piece where she is like, she's driving a tank and then it's just an old lady in the tank and then she gets out and then she can hop into everyone else's mind and then free Scorpion. And it was a super cool action sequence, but like plot-wise, she did all that just to free Scorpion, which would be so easy with that power set. And also, she is sadistic and absolutely horrible of a person that I don't think the redemption that she gets at the end or whatever, her open-ended ending where she can be better, I don't think it is valued. I don't think it's as earned as how horrible she was. Like, she walked an old man into traffic and he got hit by a car. That has nothing to do with your sister got taken and you're looking for her. You're just being an asshole. And the worst case is when she inhabits MJ and they go to that rooftop and she baits Peter into confessing how sad he is and everything. And she's like, "Yeah, hold her, Peter. She has no memory of you up in here." Like, Spider-Man has nothing to do with your crusade to find your sister. You're just being an asshole. And that scene is amazing. And if it was written better, it could have been a lot more amazing. But I feel like they just wrote that scene because it was a cool scene, not because Jean Grey was motivated to act in that way.
I disagree. I think that I disagree with some of it. Yes, the old man in the traffic is fucked up, but I also think that Jean Grey has one person in her entire life, which is Sarah. When that's taken away, you do anything you can to get that thing back, right? Whether it's your sister or your kid or your significant other. And the MJ stuff, I think that she assumes that since Spider-Man works, I keep forgetting what the stupid company thing is called.
Damage Control?
But Damage Control, thank you. Very simple thing. Since he works at Damage Control, he is also like related to them and can be working. You're like, from her perspective, this movie could be from her perspective and be really interesting as well, which usually villains aren't like that. Usually it's like, oh, the villain serves its purpose as whatever. But if we saw this movie from her perspective, I think it would also be incredibly interesting in the fact that she's trying to get her sister and she's using all these people to get through. Yes, she has stumbles and yes, she has faults, and obviously she is not a superhero yet, which is what she can improve upon. You need a broken character to become more of a superhero, right? I mean, you need to learn. Like all these superheroes do. Obviously, Tony Stark and Iron Man, doesn't kill people necessarily. That especially in order not to survive, but he's a flawed character. And by the end, he's like, the perfect version of a superhero, basically. And so I think that Jean Grey is doing whatever she can to get the one thing she knows back. And I think from that perspective, I mean, again, she's not, which is why it's such a good combination with Peter, though, because he's basically in the same exact boat and doing the opposite. He's not doing anything to get what he wants back because he wants everyone to be safer. So I think that contrast, just the story alone. So that's where I disagree with you, Luke, in the fact of like the story, where I think these things are so yin and yang that it's so perfect in the fact that Peter and Jean basically are having the same problem going on. but Jean needs to track hers down, has no idea, and will go to any extent to do it. And Peter knows exactly where the people that he wants are, but will go at any extent to avoid them in order to keep them safe. So I think that is like the perfect harmonious storyline between these two characters.
And then he kinda brings
I
it
don't
together
dislike
at the
that.
end. Yeah, I agree with that.
I
I will say
Go
I
ahead.
kind of agree with the broader point that you're making, Luke, which is like, yes, Jean Grey still needs to answer for the crimes that she committed. My rationale is like, well, like, I wouldn't say she got off easy. Like, yes, she got away, and it ended with this kind of moment of Peter saving her and them coming a little bit closer together and understanding each other a little bit better and kind of starting that path where maybe she can redeem herself. But she hasn't yet. And yes, like, again, I said she was the villain of this movie. She was the villain. So, you know, that redemption still needs to occur. But it's not like he was like, okay, all is forgiven, all is well. However, and this might be even more of a nitpick, but kind of along those lines, the one thing that was distracting me the whole movie was the Punisher's relationship with society. Because I just finished watching Daredevil and the Punisher short, One Last Kill, and it was really fun. But I'm like, you are definitely wanted for like hundreds of murders right now, and you're like kind of like just out in public, like. You know what I mean? I was like you're in the hospital right now. There should be like an army of police officers outside that door waiting to arrest you. Like there's no way that Frank Castle just went undetected throughout that hospital and he's sitting there. And then, yeah, I don't know. The Punisher aspect,
Let
is
alone
what
being
threw
there
me
by
off
himself.
more. But I feel like it's like for the same reasons that you're kind of getting at.
I didn't watch Daredevil or The Punisher, but I did tell my wife on our way home from watching Spider-Man, like, she mentioned that she liked Punisher. I was like, cool. Don't watch his show though. You don't actually like Punisher. You just like him in this movie.
Correct.
That is the funny
true, but
version
this
when
was
they
the
dumb it
PG-13
down.
version of him, and there is definitely an R version
Yes.
that's more closer to the truth.
But I think they did a great job of PG-13ing him without making it seem inconsistent to his character.
I agree.
I was very pleased with that. I was super worried about that when I heard he was going to be in this because he tonally just fits so not at all. But I think they did a great job.
I don't think they Disneyfied him too much. I think it was the appropriate amount to keep him in a PG-13 movie and still be accurate.
Yep, I agree.
I'm feeling defensive.
think
but
it's
I don't
funny.
need to be. Whenever people say Disneyfied, it's usually in reference to Star Wars, and I usually get mad. Disney produced Daredevil and Punisher also. So what are you even talking about? I know what you're talking
You know what
about.
I mean,
I just
though.
think it's a harmful
We're
phrase.
agreeing on the same thing. We
Matt,
don't
what were
need
you
to
gonna
defend
say?
Disney, the corporation.
I always just love when they do movie and TV crossovers and basically, like you said, PG versus R version of it, and being like, what are the rules completely out the window? Is this like a weekend before what we just saw the events of this TV show or something happening? Not this specifically, just like anything when they do those crossovers. It's just so funny to me to be like, this character is acting different though, right? And you can kind of tell that like the writer who wrote the show did not write, the movie. It's like, oh, why does he have a punchline all the time? That's not how he talks.
While we're here, let's round out our conversation around Punisher because I think we're all on the same page. They absolutely nailed it. The humor was there unexpectedly. Did not expect him to be most of the humor in the movie, yet it worked. And the Matt was making that point about the dynamic, the mirrored relationship between Peter and his loved ones and Jean Grey and her loved ones. I also liked they hit it on the nose a lot harder. It's not like this is I'm just now coming up with this or whatever. But that scene when Frank talks about how his lifestyle is not a choice, it's a sentence, and if his loved ones were still around, then he would do anything to be with them again. Fantastic scene. Almost every scene with Frank was fantastic. Didn't love the hospital scene. What'd you guys think about that? I thought that's where it got a little bit too much, too close to PG on the PG-13 for Frank's character when he put on the
I loved
Spidey
it.
mask and was grunting and everything.
Give me that any day. I thought that was
I
hilarious.
did think it was funny. I don't hate
That's
it.
good. That's just
But it was like the culmination where I was taken out of it. Because again, I was like, that started with Frank Castle literally carrying Peter Parker or Spider-Man into the hospital after shooting him. And I was like, okay, so they know Frank Castle is here. Again, he's a very wanted man. Like, he has never been pardoned for any of his crimes. And so, yeah, that was the part where I was like, what's his escape strategy? Because I kept expecting him, because at one point he was like, oh, I have an escape strategy. And I expected the camera to, like, pan to the doors to the room that they were in, and it was going to be, like, locked up with, like, hundreds of chains and locks all over it or something, and, like, people were on the other side, like, wondering what's going on. I don't know. But they never really addressed it from his perspective. Presumably,
I
he's
agree.
just going to walk out of there. But I don't know. That was.
But then also the same thing with Peter Parker, right? It was like, it's like he's like, oh, I got you covered. It's like, he doesn't have him covered. Anybody who just walks outside of that hallway, you're like, oh, that guy is pretty fucked up. That must be the guy who was in that room, which is Spider-Man. Oh shit, that's Spider-Man. Like that. That is the one thing that I was like, interesting.
That didn't bother me at all.
For some reason,
Really?
it doesn't bother me as
that's
much,
the
but
one
it's
thing.
the exact same complaint, so I get that.
No,
It
yeah.
is.
Yeah.
You would
My
think
headcanon
100
is
people would
that-
be
I was-
around that door 24/7 to see who walks out.
But also, that's how movies work, right? Where
There's
so I'm
that.
like, so you have that disbelief, which I'm fine with, but then it doubles down to the fact I'm like, yeah, how does he get out of there?
And then you also get that awesome moment with Peter doing the web shoot to the kid that's looking
that
at
was a
him,
nice
and
moment.
I was like, all right, this is worth it. Like, that was hokey at first, but it was worth it. But my headcanon about the logistics of that is that Frank so thoroughly threatened all the doctors and nurses not to talk about Spider-Man or what his body
Yeah.
looks like, and the fact that he was unmasked there.
He's fucking jacked. Just Jesus on the cross. Plus 20.
I will say I kind of have a lot of thoughts on Punisher. I gave the movie praise for its selective humor when it did use it. The only time where I was like, oh, that's kind of like a cheesy classic Marvel joke, was right after the Punisher got hypnotized or brainwashed, whatever you want to call it, and then like it was kind of like a serious moment. And then he just goes, "Is that my gun?" And it was like frozen to the magnet on the wall or whatever. Like that part, I was like,
Yeah.
okay,
That did
like
not land.
That's a classic Marvel joke. No, it didn't really land for me either. I was like, I don't really care for that. But whatever. That was like the only moment that I kind of felt like that. The Punisher was almost a highlight for me though, and I'll tell you why. And whenever I talk about Marvel, I always say this, so it's kind of beating a dead horse, but the least interesting thing in all of comic book movies is when you see two characters of the same power set fight each other, usually the villain just a little bit stronger in one way or another somehow. It's just not interesting. You like to see super villain and superheroes with very different power sets fight each other, and you have to try to put together, how is this going to work out? How is this going to be practical? And watching Spider-Man and Punisher team up against the Hulk, that is such a mismatched fight. Watching the Punisher walk up to the Hulk shooting, just screaming at him, that I was so giddy. I was like a little boy watching that scene going, oh my God, the Punisher is taking on the Hulk. How is this going to happen? It was great. And it was only like 30 seconds, and like Spider-Man kept like kind of like, you know, whipping him around with his web and everything and kept him safe. That's fine. I loved it. I love that they made that swing, because that is such a huge swing, because I feel like that's the first thing that everyone would be like, you can't have the Punisher fight the Hulk. Like, that's so unrealistic. But that's what I want to see. It's a superhero movie. I want to see that lack of realism and see these mismatched power sets fight each other. I absolutely love that 30-second fight sequence.
I agree.
That was a sweet
I
moment where
like
he had
that,
that bomb and he threw it at Hulk, and the Hulk just caught it, but then he shot it in his hand and it blew up. God, that was so cool.
Yeah, I
Punisher's
was
cool.
worried you were gonna say the beat that didn't land for you it was it might have been my loudest laugh, at least the first time, when Hulk goes full Rage Hulk and Punisher is inhabited by Jean. You get John Bernthal turn around and go like, "Wow, good luck with that, Peter."
No, I
Yeah.
love that. That was so good.
The range of John Bernthal in this movie was very funny, especially seeing the Odyssey and then seeing this movie. You're like, oh yeah, that's he's not the same character all the time.
That being said, I really like that beat, but that was another example of them writing the action sequence and not the story. That Jean Grey inhabits Punisher. Well, how do we get to that beat? Punisher just says he's gonna go fight Jean Grey. Is that not the dumbest decision in the last 15 movies I've watched? Like, what what the hell was that? And they tried to get out of it with like a funny bit, like, oh, you're just trying not to fight the Hulk. And he's like, yeah, you were approaching this person with a gun, and she can just inhabit you within 33 feet. Like, that was, I get that they wanted her to inhabit Punisher, and so that's why that happened. The character motivation was so flawed that it took me out of it.
No. I got
I thought it was fun.
that.
I don't know. I liked it.
It's not something that I actively thought about because they made that whole deal about helping him out and how he helped him before or saved his life or whatever. And then MJ kind of guilted him into helping him here.
I like that Punisher showed up to the building to help fight Hulk and stuff and team up with Spidey, but that specific moment where he's like, no, I'm going to go fight Jean Grey.
I mean, that doesn't bother me as much as it does
like
his decision to fight the Hulk. No, that doesn't bother me at all. Because the Punisher is consistent. Because his plan was to put a bullet in Jean Grey's head. That's his whole thing. I mean, and at the end of the movie, he basically tried to do that. And no, I mean, that's the... If I was the Punisher, I would have done the same thing. I would have been more skeptical going up to the Hulk, but I don't think he knew that the Hulk was there going into it. I could be wrong.
He didn't know what was there, yeah.
Okay.
No.
But yeah, if it's like, oh, it's just this little girl. She's a hypnotist. She hypnotizes you or can psychically take you over within 30 feet. It's like, if I was the Punisher, I'd be like, okay, fine. I'll shoot her at 40 feet away. I will kill her. I don't care. I'm the Punisher, and that's my thing.
You're in a building, though. You're not in, like, a pasture. If it didn't bother you, I'm not going to try to yuck your yum. I just wanted to vent about it. I didn't
That was like my
that.
favorite part.
And we also missed in Act 1 another part that I deeply disliked when Jean finds Peter's apartment and then finds the note. How did she find his apartment? She makes a comment like it was actually pretty easy, especially with abilities like mine. But the movie has so thoroughly established that absolutely no one knows Peter Parker, let alone that Peter Parker is Spider-Man. I thought that was just another example of, like, it would be cool if she found the note in Peter's apartment and that's how we progress the plot. But they did not write a compelling story to progress the plot, so they just had her in there.
See, this is where I think that's why the movie would be great from her perspective as well. That's because Jean Grey is such a smart person and such a smart character. I think that you have to buy in a little bit knowing who Jean Grey is too. Where, like, she's going to be able to figure it out. Like, in the X-Men, she is the main character, right? And so we've never really had a villain that is, like, also a main character good guy in another movie. So this is kind of like, I feel like this is kind of the proving ground, testing ground.
Doctor Strange
of
in the
being
Multiverse of Madness did that really, really well.
Oh, have not seen. That's another aspect. I went through, apparently there's 6 of these phases now.
Is that
I've
true?
seen... Yeah, I was like, I haven't seen most of these movies and now as well.
I mean, ever since they started
which
putting
is-
like 3 TV shows in each phase, I'm like, I'm not gonna watch that much TV.
Yeah.
Because it's about the characters
And
that we
I was-
like
that's- I
less.
was just-
That's the whole issue with the... Never mind. That's a whole other diatribe I could go on. right now.
But let's
I
talk
hate
more
to
about.
disagree with that, though, because I feel like I do nitpick over dialogue like that. But unfortunately, I feel like that is just the appropriate amount of writing it off. It's like, yeah, she's a psychic. You can probably figure it out one way or another. How she did it, I don't know. I mean, she tried to take over Peter at one time, and she kind of like got kicked out. Was she able to glean anything in that, half second she was in there? Maybe that's how she got it. I don't know.
No, she wasn't, because it was a significant plot point that she could not inhabit him or read his mind.
She tried to. I mean, did anything happen when she tried?
Yeah, she saw Aunt May, right? We went to the scene.
You didn't see Aunt May yet, but you saw
That
his
was
bedroom.
kind of when he, I guess,
Yeah.
allowed her to do it. I don't know how you want to describe that.
I
did-
did not like that. And then again, it's raising the same problem of having your cake and eating it too. Either Jean Grey is smart and powerful and capable enough to find out who Spider-Man really is, in which case she is certainly smart, powerful, and capable enough to just inhabit Black Villain at some point, the leader of Damage Control, instead of having to drive a tank through New York City into a building. Like, your powers are so OP. It would be so easy to just hop into different people until you see him, and then you can hop into him and learn where your sister is. The plot was no good. Didn't like it.
Yeah, that is admittedly the critique that I heard that I really have no good response to. That's where I'm just like, okay, but it's like it's a culmination of things. It's like if that was the plot and it had cheesy jokes and it had poor writing, like all those things would kind of stick out to you more. But I feel like because they did do a good job with the tone and the writing as far as dialogue goes, that it didn't bother me because it wasn't until I never even thought of it, honestly. I saw someone else point exactly what you just said out, and then I was like, oh yeah, I guess that was kind of her whole plan, wasn't it? So it never took me out of it. It was kind of masked well within, good choreography, good writing, and everything else.
Great fight choreography. We haven't talked about that at all yet.
No, but I would like to, because I feel like a lot of the physics that they use with his web slinging abilities, it's like that well you think is going to run dry eventually. It's like, how many new moves do you think you can honestly come up with in the 9th Spider-Man movie? Somehow they do it every time. There was like every action scene, I was like, oh, that was such a cool ability right there.
Mm-hmm. I remember in 2014 when the three of us saw Amazing Spider-Man 2 together, that scene in Times Square where he like blocks his web shooter so it goes left and right instead of forward, like we were putting your thumb over a hose. I was like, that's it. That's as cool as Spider-Man can be. We've peaked. And now, like, every Spider-Man movie since, I'm like, oh, didn't think about that. But yeah, like when the tank does get into the damage control facility and he swoops in and has just one web and he, like, not slingshots, but, like, pulls 4 people away with that one web as it crashes
like,
in.
lassos them, yeah.
Yeah. So cool.
This is the most like a game. Like I felt like the Spider-Man ride at Universal, one of my favorite rides, that you actually are flying through the city with Spider-Man. Like they've done it a lot before, but this felt truly like the POV shot of Spider-Man being
Because
able
I
to
feel
fly.
like it was
Also,
like
drinking beer out Tom Holland's
Nice.
non-alcoholic
That's cool.
beer.
Respect.
Because I feel like they did do like a very good job of like recalibrating Spider-Man, where it's like by the time of Endgame, he was going off into space and fighting all of these cosmic entities and stuff like that. And then they did a really good job with the last movie, No Way Home, with forgetting everything and how that kind of like reset him to be back to his roots as like a street level crime fighter, small potatoes, and that worked out perfectly. And like that montage, I was like, man, I could see a 30-minute supercut of this montage of him just taking out all of these villains back to back. And it was like a good like kind of use of some cameos in there too. Like they had some like deep cut villains in there. Like they had Tombstone for a split second, and I was like, oh, that's Tombstone. But yeah.
They almost blew that right there in the beginning because, yeah, the Homecoming trilogy I thought was a perfect way to have an origin trilogy and have each movie be independently amazing, in my mind at least, and set up Spider-Man to the exact point where he needs to be, and on his own, nobody knows his secret identity, yada yada. And then the movie opens and he's got like nanotech printer and all this like a dedicated AI, and I was like, oh, they threw that in the trash and they're just going Tony Stark Jr. again. But they did a very good job of not going Tony Stark Jr., which I really didn't think they would, but then after the first 5 minutes I thought we were well into that territory. So I was worried about that.
I saw someone complain about that and I disagreed with it because I was like, he didn't rely on that though. Like that wasn't like yes, he had like a machine that told him when there was crime happening, but like he didn't rely on it to do his job or anything like that. Like he used it to monitor the jumping patterns, and like his AI or whatever was the one that identified that her jump radius is like 33 feet or something like that. But I'm like, okay, but like I'm watching the same movie and like I could have told you that. Like you really didn't need that supercomputer to tell you that. That's pretty much like what we're just witnessing.
You didn't need 33 feet. Peter Parker could have guesstimated about that long.
Yeah, and yeah, whatever. But and then it's like the nanotech project or 3D printer or whatever, and it's like, well, that was just printing a suit, and so it's like whatever. That didn't bother me at all.
Me neither. I was worried that it would, but it did not. And it was relevant to the plot because they do need something like that. One, for Peter to talk to so that there's more dialogue in the movie because he's so alone so often, and 2, because the plot of the movie revolves around his DNA mutating and developing the inhibitor chip, all very technical scientific stuff that he would not be able to do in whatever, the wise science rec room or whatever Peter Parker uses in the comics when he's poor.
Yes, and to go back, I'm not nitpicking here, but you did say like, oh, looks like there's going like full Tony Stark Jr. Like, to be fair, Peter Parker is pretty much Tony Stark Jr. I mean, he is like in his own right a super genius. So it's like not.
Yeah, he's a super genius with a very similar personality and a superhero.
Yeah.
Like,
It's not like
it's
you
not-
or I.
it's not like it's a
given
far
Tony
leap.
Stark's capabilities. Like, he is on par scientifically, considering his age.
yeah,
and whatnot.
that doesn't bother me either. The last instance, I think, that I'll complain about the movie feeling like it was written for action set pieces instead of written for plot was The Hand. Because I did watch Daredevil Season 2 when that came out, and I really liked it, and I really liked The Hand. I'm also a big Ninja Turtles fan, and I really liked The Foot. Basically the same thing. You just got ninjas. When they showed up, and they were part of Damage Control's, like, payroll, I was like, oh, that's going to be an interesting plot point. And then the movie ends, and I was like, oh, they just wanted Spider-Man to fight ninjas. They did not write any reasoning into that at all.
I also did not like that they were on the poster fighting Spider-Man because I was like, oh, so Damage Control is going to be bad instantly as well. Like instantly when you saw the hand, you're like, oh, I don't know. That's just like in the poster for real. Not even the trailers, just the
But
poster.
we all
Like
knew
I was
damage
like, I don't
control
know.
was going to be bad right away. Like the second we heard that guy describe damage control and saying like, "Oh, people look at super powers and they see problems. We see opportunities." And I'm like, okay, this is a secret government organization saying this. Like, yeah, I've seen this one before. I know where this is going. And then they also introduced like, oh, this is our private security, the Hand, and you're like, yep. This tracks. I see where this is leading.
I did really like the twist that VMAX is not actually a thing, and it was just Sarah's
Yeah,
last
that was good.
sight, and so she transmitted
Last
that.
thing she saw.
But then they're still kind of trying to have their cake and eat it too, where it's like, he's actually not this mustache twirling bad guy with VMAX being weaponizing mutants. But he is trying to
that
weaponize
is what
mutants.
he's
It's just
doing.
not called VMAX.
Yes.
All that to say, I know that I've complained a lot, but the plot I thought
Yeah, too much.
was not very good, and that's why it is by far my least favorite Spider-Man
Oh,
movie. 'Cause
okay.
I don't have a single complaint like that about any of the other Homecoming movies. When Peter and MJ and Ned and May for the first three are so consistently amazing in every scene, it just comes down to the villain, how much I like them. And I really liked Vulture, I loved Mysterio, and I loved Green Goblin. And so Jean Grey was by far my least favorite villain of the Tom Holland movies.
And Doc Ock.
And so this
Give
is by
Doc
far
Ock
my
his-
least favorite
his
movie.
credit.
Yeah, I mean, I like Doc Ock. I just don't know if I would consider him a villain in the movie because they cure him so quick.
He does indeed. He has one set piece of action. I mean, he's kind of bad the entire time though. He does not play nice. He like succumbs to it. I feel like then he's kind of a dick about it.
No, he helps him in the last fight.
Yeah, he's begrudgingly helping him the entire time once he gets
Yeah.
whatever.
We don't need to get into the semantics of begrudgingly, but
I just like Doc Ock.
Did you
as a
guys know
villain
that-
more than Mysterio?
That's so tough. I would say
no.
no.
Especially because I don't like
Yeah,
Spider-Man
I
2
agree.
much. I think that
I agree. Everyone says that's like the best
Mm-hmm.
superhero movie, and I just hard disagree. Spider-Man 1 all the way. Green Goblin, Willem
well,
Dafoe.
I also don't like
Um,
Spider-Man 1 that much. I recently rewatched Spider-Man
That's
1 and
crazy.
2, and I realized I don't like those movies very much. I think that Tobey Maguire and James Franco are bad actors. And Kirsten Dunst gives 3 bad performances. I don't think she's a bad actress because I've seen her be good, but I think
Yeah,
every scene
those movies are confusing, right? Like, why is like I saw this meme that was like 2 memes that I thought were really funny. One of them was they really reserved Peter Parker being poor only for Tobey Maguire. In the other movies, he's totally fine. In this movie, he's living. I remember that apartment still bugs me from those movies. I hate it. And the second one was Mary Jane when it says in the early 2000s, white people were really able to dress a little Chinese, weren't they? And because she's consistently in like.
No, she's not.
Like,
I
geisha
rewatched that
outfits.
movie because that's where the whole meme. Well, meme. It's a meme now,
I
but it
love
was
that,
cultural
yeah.
outrage 10 years ago about my culture is not your prom dress. MJ was attending a Chinese heritage festival or something like that. It was a very
thought it was the
appropriate time to be wearing a
Thanksgiving
Chinese
parade.
dress. It was not. It was, you rewatch Spider-Man. They announce it as I can't pull the exact phrase, but it is basically Asian Heritage Fest.
Okay, but then they go back to Peter's apartment and celebrate Thanksgiving.
Thanksgiving is also around that time. It was they say on screen. They say on screen that it is national heritage or Asian heritage or Chinese history, something.
That's interesting.
And
I will have to
it was
take your
very
word for it.
appropriate.
I hate to go with the masses, but I do agree that Spider-Man 2 is the best one. I think it's the best of the three, and I think people also really look back at the Andrew Garfield movies with rose-tinted glasses. The Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movies are not
I know.
good.
I rewatched most of Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I was really excited to like it because it's not that good.
No,
Yeah.
neither of them
I think
are.
Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are by far better actors than Tom Holland and Zendaya, who are also by far better actors than Tobey Maguire and Kirsten Dunst. And so like the
agree
Andrew
with that.
Garfield movies have the potential to be great, but they have like actual horrible scripts.
And killing off Gwen Stacy was really well done, and like that was I remember watching that in the theater.
There's a
and
lot of
being
great
shocked
scenes.
by that. Like it definitely has its high points. I'm a huge Spider-Man fan, so I'm not saying like, I hate them, but like objectively speaking, I remember watching them as they were coming out and being like, this isn't very like good.
Yeah. I remember I did not like Amazing Spider-Man 1. I did like Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I still kind of do, but not more than most things. Like it's kind of like how I feel about the Rise of Skywalker. Like there's a lot that I really love in that movie, but as a movie, not that good.
And that's the important distinction that we want to draw. You don't have to say that everything you like is good. You can like things and be honest about it.
Yeah. But I was looking at the comparison between the Tobey movies and the Tom Holland movies. Well, Brand New Day in the Tobey movies. And it was kind of like the opposite, because in the Tobey movies, every scene with Spider-Man and or a villain is great, and every scene with Peter Parker and or MJ and or Harry is horrible. And I felt like in Brand New Day, every scene with Peter, MJ, and Ned was amazing, and every scene with the villain was not good.
Because that was the heart.
Not
of the
good's a
film.
bit of a stretch.
This film got so much heart, which played very strongly on the last movie. Obviously, I still like No Way Home the best, and I think that's probably the most emotional Spider-Man movie. But this was a good follow-up to it. I mean, they did it well.
I worry. I mean, it's already been 5 years, so maybe not. But I do think No Way Home is going to age very poorly in the zeitgeist, the German time ghost, because people are just going to remember it as the cameo movie. But it's going to take
so
a dedicated effort for people that it's like also an incredibly personal
Yes.
Tom Holland Peter Parker movie.
Yes, the problem is it played into what is now a Marvel trope involving the multiverse, and that's the whole problem with the multiversal story that they're trying to tell is like none of it has any stakes anymore.
I was listening to this Spider-Man Brand New Day review, and they brought up, and I'm not that big of a Marvel fan, so it had never occurred to me, but I'm curious what your guys' opinion is on it, that 2010s era Spider-Man, or 2010s era superhero movie with the third act giant CGI army and a blue sky beam is equivalent to 2020's superhero movie where the real climax is just talking to the villain.
Yeah.
Because that was the plot to Brand New Day and Thunderbolts and Black Panther Wakanda Forever and
that
one more that I can't remember right now.
That's again why I give this movie flowers for the Punisher v Hulk scene, because that's how else you would have played it. It's like, oh, you're gonna have the Punisher try to go up against the Hulk. What's he gonna do? Well, he's gonna have to try to talk him down. No, he went in guns a-blazing, baby. Yeah, I am getting kind of tired of that trope, and I don't think it was well done in Brand New Day, because in that like emotional scene of Aunt May talking to Jean Grey, like I feel like I did want to like that more than I really did.
Yes.
Oh, I love that scene.
Like they set it up
I
so
disagree.
well.
This is the
like,
one
I
part.
Really, like, again, I just wanted to.
That was a
have that blow
softball.
me away. And because in my head too, I was like, oh, this has layers to it too, because this is a memory that she's reading from Peter, so this is like a shared memory that they're gonna have now, where it's like she's talking to him, but she's actually talking to her, or vice versa, whatever. And I was like, and then it was just like, I don't know, just something about like a kind of a generic, like, just make sure you love yourself type thing for who you are. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, I agree. That was such a softball setup, and they kind of bunted it. The first time I watched it, I was mad because she said power and responsibility, and that's just too distracting. Like, you just can't have Aunt May in 2026 include both of those words in a monologue. But whatever. The second time, I caught more of it or whatever, and she talks about like your greatest power and your greatest power is how much people love you, not because you're powerful, but because you're you, and it's your greatest responsibility to remember that. Great beat for Peter Parker back 10 years ago when he heard it. Not that applicable to Jean Grey though, because no one loves her, you know? And they try to address it, like she says, I have no one, and Spider-Man says, but you have me. But like just barely. And then after this movie, definitely
the
not.
X-Men. She definitely will, because she's got to go to the Xavier School for gifted youngsters.
She definitely
That's the
will.
whole
I
thing.
definitely thought, I would have bet money on it, that there was going to be an end credit scene of somebody who is going to obviously be Professor X walking up to Jean Grey saying like, oh, whatever, I think I have a school just for you, or something, something cheesy like that, which I was really excited for.
Walks in, are you lost? Are you stumbling and can't find your way?
Yeah.
I agree, besides the fact that I don't think they are anywhere near actually going forward with that. I mean,
Well,
I'm sure, like, they just announced Cyclops right now, like,
They're
so
bringing back
like
the
they're
I
originals.
bet they'll have
They're gonna
a
be-
X-Men
Doomsday.
movie pretty soon.
So I'm excited,
Yeah.
and I don't want them to announce anything beyond that, because I'm like, yeah, let's watch Doomsday, let's see how this plays out, and then figure out the X-Men from there. So I'm actually
Yeah,
totally
I
fine with
agree.
that. I was kind of hoping that there was going to be again a reveal of Professor X, and I was like thinking in my head, I was like, did they ever announce who's going to play the next Professor X? I don't think so. What if they reveal it here? And then I was like, well, maybe they don't reveal it, and it's just like a guy in a trench coat, and they just like assume that it's going to be him or Magneto or something. I don't know. My brain was going 1,000.
and then all of a sudden it's the back of Yoda's
Yeah.
head.
No. But I like that. I will say, and I'm not going to make this a complaint, because I hate it when people do this in Star Wars, which is when something just doesn't live up to your expectations. Every Star Wars trailer, people are like, oh, this is what this movie's about, and it's going to be awesome. And then it's like, no, that's obviously not what's going to happen. And then it doesn't happen, and then they're disappointed. And it's like, well, what did you fucking think? Because in this movie, I intentionally finished season 2 of Born Again, Daredevil, before going to see this, and it ends with Daredevil going to jail. And in the trailer for this movie, we have Spider-Man fighting the Hand in a prison, and I was
In a
like,
jail?
oh, I think I see what's going on here. And the Punisher was in it too, so I was like, oh, okay, I think there's going to be a Daredevil cameo in here at some point. And then it never came to fruition, and I was a little disappointed in it, but I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be let down by my own expectations, because that was an unrealistic expectation to impose on the movie in the first place.
Good for you. Personal growth.
I'm trying.
It was very nice to go in this with no expectations, like I said, whatsoever. And it was very nice to be surprised and have no real ties to anything else besides the previous 3 movies. I will say I do miss interconnectiveness, besides just having everything be connected all the time. It was very nice to be like, I could go into this movie and I understand still, like, because I have general knowledge of who the Hand is and the Punisher and these characters, because they've been around for 10 years. These versions of these characters.
You don't need to have any knowledge of who the Hand is, because they are just
Yeah,
a
pointless
couple of
in this.
ninjas that they need to fight
Yeah.
Spider-Man. But
Yeah.
I already made my point about that.
Yes.
Zooming out, what do you guys think about comic book movies trying to be more comic accurate? Like, a lot of people are really praising Brand New Day for having so many shots pulled directly from comic covers and comic panels, like
Yeah.
Punisher carrying Spider-Man, or half of the opening montage they just adapted comic panels.
Yeah.
I feel like
the
we're
villains.
approaching a point where comic book movies are as big as comic books. Maybe we've been there for 20 years now. I mean, but people are talking about how they're so excited for Tom Holland to go through the symbiote arc next, which he probably will soon. Like Matt, you mentioned, do something new with Jean Grey and not the Dark Phoenix arc. Like, it's going to be the Dark Phoenix arc. Honestly, I think that they should just start doing their own thing. Like, I don't even care about comic accuracy anymore.
Yes.
I agree with that because I think coming from me is a little biased because when I watch Batman the Animated Series, it's the best version of Batman we'll ever get for me. It's the perfect blend of whimsy and darkness. And you could take it further like they do in Cape Crusader, and it doesn't, to me, work as well. Or you can take it back like Batman Brave and the Bold, and it doesn't work as well. I think it's that perfect mix. And when I read the comics of Batman, specifically my favorite is the animated series comic line, which is like no surprise, I guess. But when I read like storylines outside of that, I'm like, oh, this is just significantly too dark, or like I don't like the way this character is acting. So I don't personally care about that. I think there's screenwriters for a reason, and I think very few comic writers can translate into film and TV just because the way people act. I think like in a weird way, comics can be more crude, especially in the DC era. So maybe Marvel's a little different. But I'm okay with it not being comic accurate. I think it's great to play homage to it, and I think it's great to I'm excited for comic accurate costuming for X-Men. Is like I'm really excited. That's my only exciting part for Doomsday is X-Men, and then having the original cast back. And I'm excited to see those costumes. I don't think I would be as excited if it was like in back in 2000 if they were in comic accurate costumes, because I'm like, I think you needed a change, because I think everything just has a time and a place when you're looking at things like, oh, coming off the heels of the animated show, that's just doing the same thing, so you need a change visually. So I think it just depends time and place. So that's what I have to say about that.
Max, what do you think? You're our comic book fan here.
I absolutely agree that they need room to be able to do their own thing. I think so long as you are true to the spirit of the comics and the characters, then you should be able to tell whatever story you want, choosing whatever characters to fit whatever story you think would be intriguing. Because, I like Infinity War and Civil War, and I guess we're going to see Secret War. But it's like, okay, but we can tell our own story, though. Like, we don't need to rely on, like, okay, well, what has been done in the comics? We don't need to follow it step by step, beat for beat. I love the X-Men. And I am not a big fan of the Dark Phoenix story, even in the comics. And everyone who always like complains about the movies, they're like, well, they just haven't done it well. Like it's just so much better in the comics. And then I read the comics, and I was like, I kind of disagree. I did not care for it. I don't love Jean Grey like as a character. She's not one of my favorite X-Men by any means. But I was excited.
Is she your least favorite?
I mean,
someone has to be.
because
Who
someone
do you like
has
less
to
than
be,
Jean Grey?
like, yes, maybe it's Jean Grey. Maybe Storm.
I agree. I have not read any comics or watched the animated series, but like just watching the movies from the 2000s and on, like I really like the movies, and Jean Grey is consistently my least favorite X-Men by a wide margin. I remember watching.
But it's only because they're doing the Dark Phoenix story. Like even when they're first starting, they're like, okay, she's got to be like with the one fully in control. So when she breaks, she fucking breaks.
Maybe.
And so it's the worst. Just like do your own thing.
I
Which is why
remember
I'm excited for Sadie Sink.
I remember thinking in X-Men 2 when she lifts up the ship and gets crushed by the water at Alkali Lake. I remember I was a child, to be fair, but I remember being blown away that Jean Grey had powers. Like, I did not know that
I thought she was the nurse.
had abilities.
hilarious.
Yeah, she might as well have just been their cheerleader. Like, and then I was like looking back now, like X-Men 1, the big climax when they all work together and they lift up Wolverine up to Magneto and Rogue, and he's like, okay, Cyclops, you shoot the thing, and Storm, you make some wind so that I can fly up, and Jean, hold me kind of steady. Like, Storm is doing this already. She is useless.
That's funny.
Yeah, because
Ironically,
someone
the
has
only
to
movie
be,
I kind
it's
of like
probably her, but-
Jean Grey. I liked her in, gosh, what was that? 2019's Dark Phoenix, the even worse Dark Phoenix movie. That movie also not good, but there's a lot that I like in it, and a lot of it is around Jean Grey. But if that's the most I've ever liked Jean Grey, that's a shit character.
She is better in the comics, I will say that, and in the animated series. But no, as a whole, she's probably not one of my favorites. In the comics, I actually really like Kitty Pryde. She's probably one of my favorites, and then Wolverine. But that's like a basic bitch answer. But no, I mean,
So is Spider-Man. If you're that cool, you're that cool.
yeah, that's how I feel. But whatever. But no, I want to see. Like, take the characters that we love and tell us some original stories. The comics have kind of been played out, and I mean, there's just not much more. I mean, that well's gonna run dry eventually, so just do your own thing. Give it to the Russo brothers; they're doing a good job with it. Now they're adapting existing storylines like Secret Wars, but it's like give them permission to do a brand new story, something we've never seen before. Blow us away.
See, I disagree with that so hardcore, Max, just for the fact that the Russo brothers are not. If you look at beyond anything that they've done within the MCU, they're pretty much failures in what they're doing story wise.
really?
So I think them specifically should stick to
That's
this.
interesting.
And
Okay, I'll
even
take
then,
your
I
word
just-
for that.
They're also. Do you like The Gray Man or Cherry or Electric State? Yeah, no one does. All those movies are bad. And then the fact that they're also just like incredibly, they're like everything's going to be done with AI. It's like I don't know if that's how the MCU should work. It makes me a little nervous, to be honest. But
The Russos are very
pains
pro
me since
AI.
they're
That's news to me.
incredibly, yeah. It's a huge bummer actually. Just for the fact that they're just like so sticklers and adamant about it. It's just like I don't know. But with that being said, I think we've talked about this before. The fact that people are like, not to get on a high horse, but when they're talking about, they're like, though this is how these movies should be able to survive. And to be fair, literally no one else besides them really understands that, and that's the truth, right? Like they are the only people doing this at this level for this magnitude. So besides them and Kevin Feige, like realistically, we don't understand. Having said that,
I know.
whatever.
This is a real tangent, but I feel the same way about data centers are really big in Ohio, and the public is very
That's
against
true.
them. And it's just like, we really don't know what data centers are, though. Like, I know that they use a lot of energy and people, and it's taking up all our water, and all that's bad. But like, if we take them away, like, we have no idea what would change in our lives. Like, no one knows what's in a data center. Not that I'm particularly pro data centers or trust the powers that be for saying that's what we need, but it's just, I think that it's funny, the disconnect between the outrage and the understanding is
Yeah,
they do not meet anywhere.
It all goes back
true.
to the
That's-
X-Men. People
that's
just hate
true
what
with
they
a
don't
lot of things.
understand.
That's so true. We kind of blew by my segue that I had planned to start talking about the Odyssey when we were talking about staying true to the source material, like comics, because the Odyssey also does that. And I also, I made my point. It might have been our last More for Thought, actually, which is crazy because it was like 2 years ago. But if you want my full take on it, you can go watch that. But Netflix Avatar: The Last Airbender, it's probably one of my hottest takes in all of anything that I ever talk about. I think that show would have been better if they aged up every character 10 years, because the spirit of the show has nothing to do with the fact that they are kids, with the exception of Toph, and that's a season 2 thing, and you could have handled that, and I have ways that you could have handled that also. But if they did age up every character 10 years, I think the story would be better, and I think it would be so hated. Like, the creators are just like handcuffed, like, I have to do it this way even though it's worse. And I feel like that's come up a lot in comic books as well, and comic book movies as well, and it bums me out. Spoiler alert, or at least prediction, people aren't going to like Harry Potter on HBO Max because it's going to be incredibly book accurate, and books are just fundamentally different from TV shows and movies, and they don't translate as well, or at least not as identically as books do. And I think it's going to be a problem and But if they didn't adapt it so strictly, I think people would have been just as upset that it was adapted poorly and is good as they would be as if it's adapted really well and is bad.
That's
And
100%
that
accurate.
bums me out.
The Harry Potter live action TV show is a catch-22. There was no way people were going to be happy with it. If you did a shot-for-shot remake, they'd say, "Why are you making this again? The first ones were perfect. The movies were perfect." And if you take a swing and you start to change stuff, then they're going to crucify you for not being accurate. And no matter which way that lands, people are still going to see it, and it's going to make HBO a lot of money. So, it says more about us than it does the quality, I think.
It's true.
That was also why I don't really like the Odyssey. I think the Odyssey tried too hard to stay true to the source material, which the source material no one really gives a shit about. So that one bothered me a bit more because no one actually is a fan of Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey, yet they still dragged my ass for an hour and a half to this island with a witch for 20 minutes, and then this island with some monsters for 20 minutes, and the sirens in the sea for 20 minutes. And it's like, I get that they were in the book, but this shit has nothing to do with the movie. Just move along, please. What did you think about that,
all it
Matt?
has. That is what the movie is. I think this is the best version of like the hero's journey that they're able to assimilate. Have you seen The Green Knight, the A24 David Lowery
Unfortunately.
movie? Yeah. I don't. That's my least favorite type of movie, where it's like based directly off of a poem, directly off of an old book, where it's like, we go and do this thing, we beat that thing, now we go and do this thing, now we beat that thing. The Odyssey is basically the same way, but this movie does a great job, I think, of shuffling it around and doing different version of a storytelling. So we record this podcast too late that I can't remember any sort of words, but it does non-linear storytelling, and I think that has a lot to do with the success of the movie. In my list of my favorite Christopher Nolan movies, I was talking about this with my brothers. When we left the theater, my dad absolutely loved it. I went to go see this. I've been seeing a lot of movies with my parents lately. We now live in Cleveland, where we have no friends because everyone is by you guys in Columbus. And I love my parents, and they're great too, and they're badasses. But when out of the 13 Christopher Nolan movies, this ranks pretty low, because it's one of the best movie experiences I've ever had in theaters. It looked amazing. Every single inch of the screen was like, this is very real. And I know there's probably a lot of CG aspects to it, but everything was filmed very practically. They filmed it everywhere. And you can tell, like, if you watch this and then Mando and Grogu, your dick's going to be blown off. Just how amazing this movie looks. Like, when they're on the water, like, they're on the water, right? Like, you can tell. So I don't love the Odyssey as a story in general. So I 1000% agree with you there, Luke. I think they did a good job of masking it. I just don't care for it. And I think it's an exciting thing that Christopher Nolan was able to bring this kind of story into this grand of a scope and make people give a shit about this boring stuff. I think that's an amazing idea. And the movie looks amazing. I think it's his best movie he's ever made, filmmaking wise, just because it's the first movie ever to be filmed fully in IMAX, and you can tell when you're watching it. Like, every little thing looks like you can see it. Like, nothing looks blurred in the background. But it's still pretty low on my list. It's like, I think number 9 on my list of Nolan films out of 13. Yet it's amazing to watch. I just didn't. It's not my thing, right? It's not a lot of people's thing. Like, this is the first movie that I've sat in theaters being like, this is a long movie. Like, it's a really long movie. Like, it's like I
You feel all 3 hours of it.
You truly do. And sometimes it's amazing to feel that. Other times it's really not. One of my coworkers was like, yeah, I got to see it a couple more times in theaters to really grasp it. I was like, wow, I'm not going to say that. Like, it was amazing to watch, but it's not a movie I'm going to go back to. And those aren't my favorite kinds of movies. I appreciate it, but like, I'm not going to watch the Grapes of Wrath. What the fuck did I just call it? The Grapes of Wrath all the time or something. Like, it's just like, this is great. I just not necessarily for me. Having said that, one more thing that I know we're going long, and I want you to get back to your point, Luke, but the last thing I have to say about the Odyssey or anything is the complete, in my mind, misstep that Marvel took to then release the Doomsday trailer the Monday after the Odyssey was released, to be like, I think, an absolute fucking question of why they would do that, where I feel like they were like theaters are popular again. Movies are popular. How do we ride this wave? And like, let's release the Doomsday trailer on a random Monday. To me, it just did the opposite effect of what I think, again, for me, to be like, oh, this looks like shit. It's just a gobbledygook movie full of like nothingness. And like, after watching an absolute cinematic masterpiece of like, everything looks like a movie, and then all of a sudden you're just like, oh, this is all filmed in like a green screen area. It just completely took the wind out of my sails. Not to, tie back to the Odyssey, but like, just to see one movie and the way it looks, and then watch this other movie to be like, oh my God, none of this matters to me right now. Like, I thought the X-Men shots looked amazing, but then to turn it back around a little bit, I was complete the other way. I was like, I'm going to get my ticket begrudgingly. I don't give a shit about any of this besides the X-Men. But then I watched Brand New Day, and I also thought those trailers looked really bad. And I was like, you know what? They know what they're doing. I'm excited to see it. I don't know if I'll fully enjoy it, but I'm excited to go back through and watch these movies to catch up in the MCU as well. It's not going to be the Odyssey. Not everything should be the Odyssey, but I'm also still excited to see what they're going to do with this and if they're going to be able to recover. Having said that, I felt like I died because I felt nothing when Captain America showed up. I was like, I just kind of rolled my eyes a little bit. Like, it felt like Grogu. I was like, ugh, they're really trying to get us back in theaters to watch these fucking movies.
Watch the Strays to Grogu. I don't know how that's relevant here.
At the end of The Acolyte, you're like, oh, come on. Do we have to do this again?
The end of The Acolyte when Yoda shows up.
Yeah, what did I say? Oh, say Grogu?
You said
Sorry.
Grogu.
Yes,
Okay.
yeah.
We love every time Grogu's on screen.
Anyway. Sorry for
this is not a review of the Odyssey.
I had to
Matt
get that out.
liked
I've been
it,
waiting
I
an
didn't.
hour and 10 minutes.
And I have zero.
But I wanted
interest in
to
it.
I wanted to bring it up because it ties into my more for thought to end us with, unless anyone has any other notes on Spider-Man Brand New Day.
We got to wrap this shit up, bro.
It is remarkable that the two most popular movies, at least of the last calendar year, I mean, once Doomsday and Dune Part 3 come out, it'll be different, but Tom Holland and Zendaya are both... Zendaya's not a main character in The Odyssey, but she's prominently in it. And so is John Bernthal, which I did not know, who is also prominently in Spider-Man Brand New Day and also The Odyssey. Insane that they're all together. And Tom Holland and Zendaya don't share any scenes together in The Odyssey, but Tom Holland and John Bernthal do. And John Bernthal, I respect him as an actor. I'm sure he has range. I am yet to see it because he was just the Punisher again. Matt, back me up, because there was one moment where he dead ass did the, let me tell you something. And I was like, this is Spider-Man again, or every episode of The Punisher.
See, the funniest thing that archetype gets me, because I was like, that's just my brother Mike and my dad. Like, when he talks like that, I was like, that is just them. And it just gets me every time, and I can't not laugh at that. Like, that's literally
though.
like
that is John Bernthal. Like,
does.
if you go back, there's like
I'm just trying to think of something
from
else.
The Walking Dead, where he also does the exact same thing.
yes.
What was the war movie that he was in? Was it Fury or was it another one? It's the same thing again.
Yeah.
He's so good at that one role, but
Yes.
it was...
He plays that
I mean,
part
Tom
well.
Holland is playing a vastly different character, and Zendaya, vastly different character in these two movies that all three of them are in. John Bernthal, exact same. All right, that'll do it for us, though, with our review of Spider-Man Brand New Day. We'll be back with Star Wars content later. Well, that's definitely our next scheduled content, but we've been pretty slammed with life, so I am excited to get back to it. I think it would be appropriate. You're really re-sparking my energy to do another practical versus digital effects episode discussion, because especially in light of the Odyssey and everything you were saying with Marvel, like, I agree that the Odyssey looked amazing, but not just because practical is good and digital is bad, because like Avengers Endgame, super digital, but it still looked amazing. Just a different kind of amazing. This is a conversation for another time. I have a lot of ideas for other episodes once we finished our Mandalorian rewatch series, which we only have 2 more episodes to do. I think we have like 6 more episodes to release, though. So we got them in the pipeline, but as far as we are concerned here on August 11th, we only have to watch 2 more episodes of The Mandalorian, and then we're free to do whatever else we want.
Can't wait for this to come out in January of next year.
Right? That'll do it for us. email us at forceforthought@gmail.com if you have any comments or want to defend your claim on some stance we made. Feel free. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next time.
See you, Sammy.